Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 2020 primary election virtual candidate forums. We have viewers today on Facebook, YouTube, and Tallahassee.com. If you're on social media, please hit the share button. Make sure all your friends have the opportunity to see the discussion today. I am William Hatfield, the editor of the Tallahassee Democrat. I will be today's moderator. I'd also like partners at the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee, who we are being joined by right now. My pleasure to introduce Christine Coble, who will be asking questions for the League. Periodically, you'll see both our election websites on the screen where you can find more information to help you figure out how to vote with confidence. This is our second forum of the election cycle, and we're using a newfangled platform called StreamYard. Because it is 2020 and anything that can go wrong will go wrong, we ask that you bear with us through any technical difficulties as we go along. We are here today with the candidate City Commission seat 1. I'm right on that, right? Yes, seat 1. The incumbent is Elaine Bryant, and her opponents are William Moore and Jack Porter. So here is how today's forum will work. We will take turns asking questions, and we'll rotate which candidate gets to answer first. Forgive me, I will sometimes get off track and call on the wrong person too, and you know it's not your turn to go first. Please correct me. I need that sometimes. We're going to ask you to keep your answers to about 90 seconds. I will keep time. Last time I was waving when people hit their time limit. This time we have listened to those watching. We have upgraded. We now have a bell, which I will ding when your time is up. You don't have to come to a dead stop, but finish your sentence and we will quickly move along. In the middle, we will have a lightning round where we ask you to keep your answers to just a sentence. You, of course, can add, the word and because, but the goal is we are keeping it to one sentence. It can't be a endless run-on sentence. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you have and have questions for the candidate, go ahead and type them in the comments, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. Time is very limited, so you can improve your chance of your question being asked if you keep it brief and polite and make questions applicable to all the candidates. Any questions from our candidates, or we are going to jump in and start this thing? Let's get going. We're going to start with the League of Women Voters, who are going to ask our first question of the day.
Yes. What is the #1 challenge for the city, and how would you address it? Ms. Bryant?
Yep.
Thank you so much for the question. Thank you for actually inviting us to be a part with you today. And the #1 challenge, I would say right now, of the city of Tallahassee, as well as the citizens of the state of Florida and this nation, is to put in perspective the results of and the challenges of our current COVID-19 coronavirus challenge. We have, over the last 6 or 7 months, been challenged. We have, as a city, had outreach to our business community. We've had outreach to our nonprofits, and we've had outreach really to all. So that is a #1 priority. It is impacting the economy of our city, and we must continue to be very vigilant in what we do to be responsive to our current COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Ms. Porter?
Hi, yes, and thank you so much for having me. I agree with Dr. Bryant that one of the greatest challenges we are currently facing is what our response to COVID is going to be. And in addition, how we're going to include the public, how we're going to be listening to our neighbors as we continue to make decisions and operate business. That's something that we've got to get right. Other cities have done it. And, we've got to step up to that challenge and make sure that our community's voices are not being drowned out or ignored because of this pandemic.
Mr. Moore.
Tallahassee's biggest problems, easily at least a few of them, are crime rates and our homeless population. And the way we fix that is we stop arresting drug addicts, giving them criminal charges, sending them to jail, ruining their lives. Because these drug addicts do not need punishment. They need help. Giving them a criminal record is not going to help them find a job. It's not going to help them get off the drugs. And it's not going to stop them from committing crimes. So we need to implement more rehabilitative programs instead of just criminally charging these individuals.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I apologize. We've already had our first technical glitch where I accidentally shut down my web browser. So we're not going to let that happen again. We're going to stick with the coronavirus topic here. We are in obviously unprecedented times. Which direction do you think the city should be going in? Should we be opening up or closing down? Should we be encouraging people to stay home as much as possible or to get out and patronize businesses safely? Ms. Porter, we're going to start with you.
I think that ultimately we've got to be listening to the experts. I think that's what our city and county leaders have tried to do. It's concerning that the numbers are rapidly increasing in Florida. I think that wearing masks seems to be, the number one recommendation that we are in control of, continuing to support small local businesses with pickup, that kind of thing to keep our economy going. So I do think that, listening to our experts, it's tough to know what to trust. The news seems to be changing every single day. It's a scary time for all of us, knowing what to do with our schools, with our children, with our businesses. But I do think that keeping the experts, letting that drive our decisions as well as public comment.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, I believe you're up next.
So the first time we tried to reopen back up, it didn't go so well. And that's because of one crucial mistake that I actually mentioned in an interview with Tallahassee Democrat. And that is we weren't making sure that businesses were following the regulations. Waitresses were not wearing masks. I saw College Avenue like it was just a regular night with clubs at full capacity. So I see everyone, we should enforce everyone to wear a mask. Well, if we can't even make sure that businesses are following regulations, how are we going to make sure every single citizen in Tallahassee is going to be following regulations? So all in all, yes, we might be able to start reopening, but if we do so, we need to put a higher emphasis on actually enforcing the policies that we're creating.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant.
Yes, let me say that I am a strong proponent of following the science. And we have evidence in our community right now. The spike is going up and not down. It is all of our responsibility, everyone, from business owners to citizens that are sheltering in at home, to be responsible and do the things that have been postured before us as hopefully inhibitors to actually increasing this coronavirus. We need to wear a mask. I mean, it has been said over and over again. And I agree with William in that, look, everyone in businesses and those who are visiting the businesses should have on a mask. But we have to, in many ways, to the degree that we can, preserve our business community. And we need to do it responsibly. So yes, I do make orders and I go and pick them up for food items because I want our businesses not to close. We have a responsibility, I think, as citizens of Tallahassee. But in addition to that, we also have a responsibility to those who are not able to actually purchase food items because their family has been impacted and jobs have now closed and they are unemployed. We have a responsibility also to those persons to the degree that we can to support them.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go back to the League of Women Voters with the next question.
Yes, this is a two-part question. How do you see your role as a commissioner in relation to the city manager and staff? And Mr. Moore, we'll start with you.
I mean, I understand that they're my colleagues, and I have to respect them, but I'm not just going to let something go by that's obviously wrong. All my ideas are backed by countless amounts of research and evidence. I make sure if I'm going to call someone out on something that I have a basis of doing so. But if I do get elected, I'm definitely super excited to be working with my colleagues.
And from the League's forum partner, the Alliance of Tallahassee Neighborhoods, how would you rate the effectiveness of the current city manager and what, if any, changes would you make? Mr. Moore again.
Overall, honestly, I wouldn't make any changes. Not yet. I don't know enough about the topic yet.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Bryant.
Yes, would you repeat the question, please?
Yes, the first part is, how do you see your role as a commissioner in relation to the city manager and staff?
Okay, very good. Let me say that the city manager runs the day-to-day operations of our city. Commissions, not only for the city, but in any other venue, actually set policy. The fortunate thing for us in the city of Tallahassee is that we have goals, we have a strategic plan, and we need to, as a commission, as we obviously do, hold the city manager accountable for reaching the goals. Now, we should not be involved in the day-to-day operations of the city. That's why we hire a city manager. And then we will actually rate the city manager in accordance with the policy that has been established and that any employee should be afforded. So in terms of our city manager, I think the second part is how would I rate him? Is that correct? Because I'll go
Yes,
ahead.
it is.
Okay. I would say that our current city manager is doing an excellent job. He brings ideas back. He is forward thinking. And he is holding his staff accountable, which is critical. The leadership team that he has assembled is also doing a good job in doing those things that are necessary. Are there challenges? Are there things that need to be changed, improved? Absolutely. And that's with any organization. So we will be constantly challenged day after day to continue to actually comply and hold them accountable for those things that we agree as a commission as it relates to policy that should be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christina, are we on Jack now or Ms. Porter?
I believe that we're on to start with Dr. Bryant.
Jackie hasn't gone yet.
She hasn't answered the question yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Porter.
Okay.
Same question.
Okay, thank you. So, commissioners are there to provide leadership, to set the tone for our city. Of course, our commissioners are the only elected officials who are accountable to the voters, and it's our job to represent them. That's what my background and my experience prepares me to do. I'm very comfortable in that capacity. My educational background will give me the tools to evaluate and serve. And of course, setting the direction, working with our staff and leadership. I was given an award by the Florida City and County Management Association last year. I'm very familiar with the commissioner council form of government. I support it. And I think that the setup is very good for the day-to-day operations, but it should always be the commissioners, the elected officials who are setting the tone, driving the policy decisions, driving the community, centering our community in our decision-making processes. As far as our city management, I think something that distinguishes me from my opponents is that I do believe that our community wants change, wants accountability in our city management and our upper level leadership. The rank and file staff do an amazing job. I worked at the city for a year. I was proud to do so. I'm proud of the city's work. We're doing a lot of amazing things. But I do think we need more accountability. I do think there have been some missteps, including most recently with a botched police chief search. So I do think that this is something that we need to revisit.
Thank you.
All right, we are now going to shift over to always a hot topic in Tallahassee, and that's development. Got a couple questions on this.
Mr. Hatfield?
With Ms. Bryant here. How should the city be balancing the need for new development and economic growth with the needs of long-term residents and others who don't want the landscape and character of the community to change?
I was Mr. Hatfield, I was trying to get your attention. I think you said that we could respond to things that we hear that we might have some problem with. Is that correct, or is this not the time? I don't want to get.
No, it would. So I presume you want to refer to the police search?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll be extremely brief, but I do want to make sure our listening audience know that this is probably one of the most inclusive police searches that has been conducted probably in any city, because it really is an appointment by the city manager. But instead, he actually brought in representatives from across our community who in fact made recommendations regarding the selection of the police chief. And the first person that was selected by the committee was the gentleman from St. Petersburg. And it was his declination or declining that position that took us to the next step. So thank you for that kind of explanation. Go ahead.
If I could respond briefly.
Sure.
I'm not really making any comments about how inclusive the process was. I think that the process was okay, but a candidate walked away citing complaints with the city manager, and our commissioners never even seemed to ask what happened. That's what I mean by accountability. Let's ask the questions, get to the truth, so that everyone can feel comfortable with our decisions.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Bryant, you're going to have the first question on development here, and that is, how should the city be balancing the need for new development and economic growth with the needs of long-term residents and others who don't want the landscape and character of the community to change?
Thank you for that question, because that has been a consistent question, I think, throughout this process. And I am so reminded that as we look at Cascades Park, and this is obviously prior to my time sitting on the commission, there were plans made that were resisted because it's changed. But today, we probably can't find too many citizens who do not support Cascades Park. But let me also say quickly that we have to have more input from our community. I will be the first to say that upon being appointed to the commission, one of the first neighborhood meetings was in Midtown, where they had not been afforded, at least from their perspective, and the more I listened, the more I understood, to have input regarding the parking garage that was planned to go up in Midtown. And it was only through the collaboration, through the talking, through the sharing of neighborhood and the city and government that we were able to come to an agreement as to how this should not, in this case, happen. So I would say that line is very delicate. We have to protect our neighborhoods, but we also have to support development. I'm sure the city as we see it today will not be the city 30 years from now. It will change. We have a responsibility to provide that planning effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Porter, same question.
Yes, of course. I support high quality development, but I know where I have a problem is when we have taxpayers subsidizing it. We do absolutely need to balance our natural beauty, the will of our neighbors and our communities, our character, our natural resources. I support investing in existing neighborhoods who badly need investment and have been asking and waiting for it before we are talking about areas where there is no demand, where there are no existing neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods need safe infrastructure. Bad development is bad development, and good development is good development. If there are developers who are abusing the process for personal gain, endangering our environment and our neighborhoods, we need to stand up to that. I will stand up to that. But good development, environmental protection, and economic development can go hand in hand, and that's what my experience in planning and bringing together the voices of our neighbors will do.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
So I'm definitely for development as long as it's environmentally conscious. I mean, look at this humongous millions of dollars project that we're doing in Cascades right now. We're building this huge, sterile, lifeless building right in front of a park. It doesn't fit in. We need to start integrating more nature into our buildings, putting trees on the roof, bushes on the sides, moss on the walls. And sure, this might cost a little extra money, but the attention that these buildings will bring, the publicity, the tourism, making people want to move here, that's going to make up for it, much like the great city of Singapore has seen from their natural architecture.
Thank you. All right, we're sticking with development here. Ms. Porter, you have the first shot at this question. What do you think of the regulatory growth environment balance of the city? Are we making it too difficult for people to build here? Are we giving away too much to developers? And Ms. Porter, you got the first shot.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
What I hear when I talk to our neighbors, when I talk to developers, is we need consistency and we need predictability in the development process, in the permitting process, the environmental review process. At every step, we need predictability and we need accountability. So that we're not pitting our neighbors against our developers, wasting everyone's time. I see a lot, we've seen where, the project's been in the works for many, months. The public finally hears about it. We have to show up with red shirts to fight it. That's not a good way to do business. That's not a way to engage the public. I believe that we can streamline the permitting process, but we can't do that sacrificing our environment and our community. There was no public input into the largest expansion of the urban services area. We need to get this right. We hope, it's not a public hearing if we're not hearing from the public. So we need to be centering our neighbors' voices, but absolutely, a lot of developers are frustrated. A lot of neighbors are frustrated. We can do a better job. We can streamline these processes without sacrificing our values as a community. Good development happens when we all work together towards a common goal. I think we all want some degree of growth. We want development. We want this to be a place that we need to work together.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, same question.
So as I said in the last question, like the best way to, bring environmentalists and developers together is to integrate nature into these projects. It's environmentally friendly. It gives homes for these animals that we're taking their original homes away from. And yes, like I said, it does cost a little extra money to do that. But I think, the attention that it will bring will also bring more revenue as well.
And Ms. Bryant.
Yes, let me say that we have streamlined the process for permitting. I just want to make sure that is known by our public. In fact, it's streamlined to the degree that it can turn over in a very short period of time. Now, what that says is that our city is constantly looking for improved technologies and ways of getting business done that positively impacts our community. I also want to say, as we talk about development, and I think it was referenced as one of the largest developments that's actually occurring today. I want to say that we have, especially in this urban services area that's being referenced, that process started back in, I think, 1999, then in 2006 or 2008, and input into the process was tremendous. It did not spring up overnight with no input from citizens. Now, many of the citizens that were probably here and involved in 1999, early 2000s may not be at the table today. Some of them probably are. But I will say that this process, even to this day, has included and will include outreach into the community through charrettes or opportunities to just share. So it's not a closed door.
All right, thank you. We're going to keep things moving, and the League of Women Voters is going to take us to our next topic.
Yes, the League, together with its forum partner, the NAACP, would like to know, how would you respond to citizens who support the creation of an independent police review board? Ms. Porter.
I think Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore. I'm sorry, Mr. Moore.
So, on paper, sounds like a great idea. I've actually talked to the PBA, and their biggest, complaint is they don't want this board to have too much power. So I'm for it, but we need to be really careful about what powers we give them. But overall, the police brutality issue as a whole, I've actually gone out and talked to these protesters out in the Capitol. And the biggest thing that they all say is they want more training for cops. So what we need to do is take a quality over quantity approach, take on fewer officers, but they're better trained and maybe even higher paid. They need tactical, physical, and psychological training once a week with yearly evaluations, because it's no secret that American police officers are not trained nearly as much as they should be.
Thank you. Dr. Bryant.
Yes, I am certainly in favor of and voted for an independent review board. I think that after we actually requested research and received it from across the state of Florida, that independent review boards currently exist, and some of them are operating very well. I will also say, as Mr. Moore just stated, that training is paramount, and we need to invest again and again in ensuring that our officers are trained on a continuous basis. But the board itself, at the conclusion of any incident, can actually review what happened in the incident. We have been challenged with the question of why not have them have subpoena power. And we know that the law does not allow us to do that. But we will do exactly what it is once we develop the rules and for how this board will operate, and actually expect them to do just that. It will not be controlled by the city commission. So I am in favor of the independent review board.
Ms. Porter?
Yes, so, I support a board with maximum investigatory capacity, one that has the ability to discipline misconduct, misconduct. And that's what I'm hearing from people all over the community. I don't see that as a partisan issue. That I'm hearing that from all over the community. Accountability starts at the top with the city manager, with the police chief. Certainly we need more oversight because they're the ones who should be setting the example to make sure that we are doing what we need to do. I went to the most recent TPD Community Advisory Council last week, that meeting. I'm not sure that the right tone was set there. There are serious questions that are still outstanding today about recent events in our city. We've got, questions about the body camera footage, questions about our policies. We need to be building the public's trust back up, building those relationships, doing this right and taking it seriously. So I support the direction that we've moved in, but I think a lot of people have concerns about how independent the review board is that the city voted on, and I have concerns as well.
Thank you. So we're going to do a quick follow-up on this topic. Just going to ask for a 30-second answer from each of you. We will start with Commissioner Bryant. How would, if you believe this board should be truly independent, how would you propose that we ensure that the board is truly independent and not just a rubber stamp for the police department? Commissioner Bryant.
Yes, I think that the fact that it is independent and that we have no control over it, meaning the commission, and we also have an inspector general that will be assigned to ensure that there is independent thought and obviously review and implementation of whatever the results should be regarding any incidents that would avail itself through our police department.
Thank you. Ms. Porter.
I think like the Independent Ethics Board, we should be putting this up to a vote for the voters to decide what level of, the independence or the setup, the composition of this board. That's where I would stand on that issue. We can go to a ballot.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
So if we want to be independent, then my biggest answer is just to be, make sure that there's no influence from the police department whatsoever. So the members of this board, they can't have family members who are cops. They can't have friends who are cops. They can't be an ex-cop themselves. Just doing anything we can to make sure that it truly is independent and has no influence from the police force whatsoever.
Thank you. All right, changing gears. Well, actually, no, we're kind of sticking a little bit with this topic of policing. We are in the middle of a period of social upheaval. People are protesting in the streets. We've had 3 officer-related shootings already this year. What do you think about how the police department is operating? What, if anything, do we need to do better? I believe, I think we're on Ms. Porter as the first question.
I think that we can't even begin to answer those questions unless we have a truly independent review board. I think that we should be taking a look at reviewing our policies, reviewing, the structure of our police. I think that I have too spoken to the police union, and we agree that the police should be funded to do their job, but they don't need to be funded for things that are not their job to do, that they are not trained to do, and quite honestly, that they don't even want to do. We need to make sure that we are investing in our communities, investing in mental health, in human services, in affordable housing, in recreational programs for our youth. Those are the places where I think we need to be investing. And as I said previously, accountability begins at the top. Our city manager and our police chief, that is ultimately kind of their responsibility. And these are the discussions that we need to be having with our community in serious, deliberative ways to address our crime problem, which we absolutely have. There's no disagreement about that. And we have to address this head on, including our community and centering their voices.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
So as I said before, I have gone out and interviewed these protesters out of the Capitol. You can check out the video on my Instagram, William Moore 2020. And the number one thing that I got from them was they want more training for cops. So this quality over quantity approach, taking on fewer officers, but they're better trained. This is the perfect solution to both please the police force by making them into a more reputable program, by getting the cream of the crop of officers, and also pleasing the protesters by giving them what they want, which is more training.
Thank you. Commissioner.
Ms. Hatfield, restate your question, please.
Surely. What do you think about how the police department is operating, and what, if anything, do we need to do better?
Okay, very good. I think the police department is operating at a level of, right now today, extreme scrutiny on exactly what the expectations are. I agree that we do have to have written policies, which we do have. We do have to have accountability that those policies are being followed. We have to have accountability when there are officer shootings that you referenced and what happened, and we need to actually gather the facts and make informed decisions. I do agree that we do, and I said this a few minutes ago, we should invest in training. But I also know that there is an expectation for police officers to do things that they have not signed up to do. They are not social workers. They are police officers. They have not been trained to be social workers. But on many occasions, they're asked to perform those tasks. So what we need to do as a community, holistically, is to bring to bear everyone's expertise to the table such that mental health issues are being addressed by mental health experts, that those persons who are homeless that we are investing in the infrastructure that supports the issues that impact crime in our community. Because there is an issue, obviously, with the 3 shootings that occurred, and we need to invest in ensuring that those problems are remedied.
So I want to stick with a quick follow-up on this, where I'm just looking for a 30-second response from each candidate. Mr. Moore, we're going to start with you. What does defund the police mean to you? And is there any part of that message that resonates with you? 30 seconds. Sure.
Defund the police to me just means change. Like I said, there needs to be more training, American police aren't trained nearly at the level as several other countries. And no, I don't think the defund the police movement actually means just total anarchy.
Thank you. Commissioner Bryant.
Yes, I do not believe in defunding the police. I've made that fairly clear in most conversations. I think that as we right now attempt to ensure that police officers have what they need, they have the staffing that they need to be responsive to the jobs that they've been assigned to do, will require that we continue to invest in our police. So defunding the police for me is not an option. But what I do think we need to do is to bring together, as I just previously stated, persons that are in other parts of our community to help in this process.
Thank you. Ms. Porter?
I think that defund the police means different things to different people. Ultimately, we're talking about change. We need to be talking about funding human services. Like I said, I want to fund the police to do what is their job, investigating violent crime. And I want to fund our human services, our affordable housing, our parks. We need to be looking at our entire budget to find resources to meet these needs. And that is what I will do as your next commissioner.
Thank you. All right, we're going to switch over to a quick question from our Facebook audience before we move on to the lightning round here. Much has been said and written about the 32304 zip code, one of the poorest in the state. Recently, the Democrat did a 2-day kind of investigation of that zip code and basically showed, the health disparities and just the lives of some of the residents there. What, as a city commissioner, would you propose that we could do to stop poverty of 32304? And I believe this starts with Commissioner Bryant.
I'll be glad to start it. I think that we have a task force really that was put together under the leadership of Commissioner Proctor that actually resulted in a report with very distinct details about what could be and should be done in order to support the 32304 zip code. I think that we have to, as a city commission, as with that plan and other plans that we have, actually implement some of those recommendations. I think I heard the beep.
Thank you. Ms. Porter.
We have serious issues in this community, economic and racial segregation. The poverty is just absolutely unacceptable. We are told that we are doing the best that we can. When I look at the strategic plan, it's not even measuring poverty levels, and the proposals have very little impact. I'm not interested in placing blame, but what we have been doing has simply not been working. The Prosperity for All Summit, Commissioner Proctor hosted, laid out some very good plans. And I challenge our community and our commission to actually bring those plans to a vote. I'd also like to say that I am proud to be endorsed by Commissioner Proctor, and I know that he trusts me to take this issue seriously and find creative solutions. 32304, being in poverty, it's not good for those community members. It's not good for our health. It's not good for business. We have got to take, this is our number one priority. We have got to address this.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
First of all, nothing in recent history has pushed more people into poverty than the war on drugs. This war has been going on for half a century, and it has ruined countless of lives. When we criminally charge drug addicts, send them to jail, give them a criminal record so they can't get a job after they get out, we're ruining their lives, and we're ruining our community. Instead of punishing these people who obviously need help, we need to send them through rehabilitative programs. Also, our education system is certainly lacking when it comes to developing our youth who are coming from these, lower income communities. These children are growing up around constant violence, and they don't have a proper role model to look up to. Therefore, our education system needs to step in and show them how to handle this constant violence, because there's no point in teaching them math, science, whatever, if they can't even handle the daily stressors of their everyday lives.
Thank you. All right, we are going to shift things up a little bit and move on to. I'm sorry. Was that?
Yes, if you don't mind, I heard Ms. Porter say that we have done nothing. And I cannot let that go unaddressed. I have
not what I said.
I apologize, but that's what I thought I heard you say. I just want to list one or two things, and I won't go through them all, that has been done in 32304, because our Tempo program has actually taken young people not only from that zip code, but from other zip codes in our impoverished areas, and actually given them opportunities to either get their GED, to get jobs. We have done 4 Habitat for Humanity homes to address housing in our 32304 zip code. We have committed over $1 million for our low-income housing in the Orange Avenue apartments. And I really could go on, but to even suggest that nothing has been done is really unfair.
Ms. Porter, would you like to respond?
Yes. That's just simply not what I said. I think we should absolutely celebrate what we do well, but we can't lose sight of the fact that what is happening in the 32304 zip code is just unacceptable. Like I learned in the church that I grew up in, faith without works is dead. Plans without courage and leadership are dead as well, and we need to do better. I'm talking about outcomes, plans that are actually working. We can do better when we come together as a community to support our neighbors. I'm not interested in blaming. I'm interested in outcomes so that we know that what we're doing is making an impact and making the impact we want to have.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to move on to our lightning round, change things up a little bit. So these are rapid fire answers, looking for one sentence. So please throw in an and by all means, throw in a because, but one sentence. We are going to start with you, Ms. Porter. If you had to depend on one source for coronavirus guidance, who or what would it be?
Dr. Fauci.
All right. Mr. Moore, same question.
You broke up a little bit when you.
If you had to depend on one source for coronavirus guidance, who or what would it be?
I'm right with Porter.
All right. Commissioner Bryant.
I'm going to add right with the other two, Dr. Fauci and other scientists that are affording us the opportunity to understand what's going on.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, Mr. Moore. Do you wear a mask outside your home?
Depends where I'm going. Any public space, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Bryant.
Yes.
Ms. Porter.
Yes, and you should too.
All right, I do. Let's see. Commissioner Bryant, this question is yours. What is your single most prized endorsement?
My single most prized endorsement would be the citizens who know me and have chosen to put their name with mine.
Okay.
Pardon?
Your single most prized endorsement.
The community. I mean, this is truly a grassroots, people-powered campaign. We've had over 800 contributions, and that's my
single most prized endorsement, Mr. Moore.
My followers and my voters, because they trust the evidence and they trust the research.
All right. Ms. Porter, here's the first question for you. In fact, this is for the non-incumbents. How many city commission meetings have you been to / spoken at? Ms. Porter.
I mean, dozens, if not hundreds, that I've watched. I mean, maybe not hundreds, but up there. And I've spoken at 3.
Okay. Mr. Moore.
Like Porter, I've seen dozens, but I've actually never been to one in person.
Okay. All right. Mr. Moore, sticking with you.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. Well, I figure I know your answer.
Yeah.
But go ahead. You get your.
Let me just say all of them.
Okay.
You're good.
You've not been absent.
No.
All right. Mr. Moore, name one city ordinance or policy that should be immediately repealed.
Repeal. I can say one that should be implemented, and that is decriminalizing drugs, sending drug addicts to rehab instead of jail.
Okay. Commissioner Bryant.
That should be
immediately repealed.
Any policy that is not in compliance with the law should be repealed.
Okay. Ms. Porter.
I agree with Mr. Moore. Decriminalizing petty amounts of marijuana is something that we should do, and that's the difference between me and my opponent.
I said all drugs. Meth addicts, cocaine addicts, all of them need rehab.
Commissioner Bryant, I know there was kind of a suggestion of difference with your opponent. Where do you stand on the decriminalization of marijuana?
No, I think we had great discussion on that in the commission about I think it was last year, and I definitely supported this whole idea of small amounts of marijuana being decriminalized. But what the discussion was about was the separation of hemp for medical purposes as opposed to marijuana. That was the discussion had by the commission, and we were in support of what the actual law said that we could do. Not just me, but our commission.
Thank you.
If I could just run very briefly,
sure.
cities all across the state have adopted ordinances allowing for this, and we have not. That's where we are as a city at this exact moment.
All right. We're going to go back to the lightning round here. Commissioner Bryant, this one's yours. Name one specific thing the city is not spending enough money on, and one thing the city is spending too much money on.
Well, I don't know what we're spending too much money on because the budget is extremely limited. But we've not spent enough money on, and even though there are plans in place to actually spend money on the south side of our city.
Okay.
Which neighborhood?
Ms. Porter, same question.
You know, we're not spending enough on human services. I agree, in our underinvested neighborhoods and parts of town, we are spending too much, subsidizing unaccountable developments. All
right, Mr. Moore.
We're spending too much on development without, environmental conscious of what we're creating.
And what we're spending too much? Anything we're spending not enough money on?
So yeah, we're spending too much on development because we're not spending enough on integrating our environment. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Ms. Porter, do you have any restrictions on who you accept campaign donations from?
Yes, I'm not accepting campaign contributions from city lobbyists, city vendors, people who I can expect will have business before the city, as well as large developers. Okay,
thank you. Mr. Moore.
My campaign's not really about money. I tell all my followers and voters that I really don't want your money. I just want your vote and your support. All I'm really trying to do here is to get these ideas to gain traction. I don't care if I'm the one to do it as long as they get out there.
Thank you. Commissioner Bryant?
Yes, let me say that I actually will accept donations from the citizens of our city, irrespective of their job, whether they're developers. And I also will quickly say that the influence of, we often say developers, actually causes us to make decisions that are impacted by the gift that they gave. And I totally disagree with that, because anyone who brings an issue before the commission may or may not have influence over whomever they're speaking with. It starts with the integrity of the heart of the person that we are actually speaking with. And for me, that is a very high standard. And so whatever funds I get from whomever, just know for the listening public that I am not influenced by any support that I receive from anyone.
Okay. All right. This one is, we're starting with Mr. Moore. What item are you most proud of that you took the leadership role in over the past couple of years?
What was the first part? I didn't.
What single thing are you most proud of that you took a leadership role in over the past couple of years?
Honestly, this isn't much of a leadership role, but probably publishing my book and honestly starting this campaign, because initiating these ideas, I know that they can change the world. They've changed the world in parts of the globe, and I'm just trying to bring that here.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bryant.
Yes, speaking of one, I probably will slide two in here, but the first one is the strategic plan that from the city perspective that we put in place that will guide what we do over the next 5 years with the nimbleness of being able to be responsive to such things as COVID-19. On a very personal note, I am most proud of the fact that during this last month or two, I was able to galvanize enough support in our city to provide the needs of 16 families based on whatever it is that they itemized that they needed, to include roofs being repaired, laptops, food, you name it. We were able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Porter.
I think for me, it was community broadband with the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. That is more important today than ever. You know, parents across the city are making difficult choices about sending their kids back to school, signing up for online to make sure that our entire community has equal access to broadband at the same speeds and at an affordable price.
All right, and that is our lightning round. We are coming to the home stretch here. The league, we're probably going to go a little bit into overtime, but the League of Women Voters has our next question.
How would you further strengthen the city's ethics code and the city's independent ethics board? I believe we're starting.
I believe Commissioner Bryant has the first shot at this one.
Okay. We have the most stringent, toughest restrictions for ethics of this city ever in the history of the city. And we're proud of that. We're proud of the fact that we are adhering to those guidelines. So can we make it stricter or can we make it more difficult? I would say to you, we are on the cutting edge of ethics reform in our state. Now, if you ask me about the actual commission, they are operating really in excellent collaboration right now with us doing whatever it is that we need to do to support them. But they have total independence and they do not seek our opinions about the things that they are responsible for doing. So they're operating very good. They have great leadership and we certainly respect their role.
Thank you. Ms. Porter?
Yeah, you know, I think that we've seen a little bit of a demotion of the ethics board, taking them out of City Hall, not broadcasting them live. I think that's a problem. On the commission, I would revisit that. I would like to see how the new ordinances work for the ethics board. We've passed some new ordinance lately. One area that we can always go farther in is campaign finance. This is shown to reduce the possibility of corruption in our communities, and I would support that wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Mr. Moore?
There needs to be regulation on the members of the city commission. Like, you know, ask why did they vote a certain way on this particular issue? Are they actually educated on it? Or are they just voting because someone told or paid them to do so? You know, I'm not really sure how we could integrate that into the ethics board, but I can say for one thing, personally, I'm not going to let a city commissioner just vote a certain way without giving a proper argument of doing so.
Thank you.
All right. And I've actually got a little follow-up I wanted to ask on that topic. We'll start with you, Ms. Porter. There have been, in recent history, high-profile investigations and even the arrest of a sitting commissioner and expulsion. Is corruption still a problem at the city level, and what would you recommend to address it?
You know, I do believe that we have, as I've said, an issue with accountability, an issue still with corruption, and accountability starts at the top. I think we need to be including the public in these decisions. Corruption is always going to be a challenge when good people don't step up and run. We need better accountability for our elected officials. You know, that's something that's so important. If we want to hold our commissioners accountable, we have to hold our candidates accountable. And I can only speak for how I will lead, but I've been including the voice of the community at every step of the way. You see that in my campaign finance, and that's how I will lead as your next commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
All I can say is I'm not going to allow any of my fellow commissioners to vote a certain way without at least explaining why. Sure, they can ignore me, but that would look pretty bad if they did. like I said, all my ideas are backed by evidence, research, and logic. And I just want to make sure that my other commissioners are doing the same.
Thank you. Commissioner Bryant.
Yes, this issue of corruption with the current commission and has been referenced as corruption even for myself by my opponent as it relates to a reference to the person who sat in the seat before me. Just for the record, if I have done something that's corrupt, I challenge my opponent to explicitly tell me what it is. We at this commission have gone the extra mile to ensure that there is not, and we hopefully never will be, this issue of corruption. I don't receive that kindly because it's not true. And in my mind, the truth actually matters. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Porter.
Sure. If I could just respond briefly to that. You know, the truth certainly matters to me. I'm, you know, the FBI is here for a reason, and I'm not the FBI. I will let them make that determination, and I think we should all be following that closely. We've seen this with different contracts with our waste services. I witnessed this with the municipal broadband vote. So, you know, I think that the truth will be revealed. I'm not the FBI. I absolutely care about the truth and being responsive to the public and giving from the heart in an honest way.
Mr. Hatfield, I have to say that we're not, the current commission is not being investigated. That's all I'll say on that matter. We are not being investigated by the FBI.
All right. We got a question before we're going to go to closing arguments where you're able to talk directly to voters. Last question in the way of that, and it starts with Mr. Moore. This is a nonpartisan race, but these days partisan politics are unavoidable. On the political spectrum, from extreme liberal to extreme conservatism and everything in between, where do you define yourself?
I am 100% a moderate. The political divide in our country is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, don't even get me started on this bipartisan BS. I mean, look at our presidential candidates right now. It obviously needs change. We all need to start meeting more in the middle, start looking at evidence, research, and facts instead of just what rich people tell us.
All right. Commissioner Bryant?
Yes, let me say that I am certainly issue-driven. It's not party-driven. I try and make informed decisions based on research, based on those things that actually help us to make informed decisions. And it is not directly linked to Democrat nor Republican, but to facts. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Porter?
You know, I'm really not interested in debating most partisan issues. I see myself as a common sense pragmatist, a candidate. In that sense, that's how I'll be on the commission. And I think that that's how I've earned the support of people all across the political spectrum.
All right. It is closing time. Commissioner Bryant, we're going to start with you. And this is your opportunity to make the case directly to voters. Feel free to include your web address. We'll give you each 2 minutes on this one since it is kind of your final remarks. And Commissioner Bryant, start us out.
All right, very good. Let me start with my web address such that in case I get to the end, I've not used my time. I encourage you to go to www.ElaineBryantTLH.com and actually read comments from those persons in the community who are supporting me. They actually have comments regarding how they know me and why they support me. But in closing, let me say that I am grounded very much in this whole case for service. The reason I'm on the commission today and was appointed, and when asked 2 years ago, Elaine, why did you want to do this? My answer then is the same as it is now. It's my opportunity to serve this community. I have a great history in this community. I've been here over 40 years. I have served on many boards that give back to this community. I've served in government. I own my own business. But most importantly, I have an ear to hear and a heart to deliver those things which our neighborhoods are asking us to do. I have a heart to deliver to our people honest accountability for not only my behaviors, but for those things that we hold our city accountable for. I have a history right now of serving for 2 years on the city commission and making decisions that have impacted our community across the spectrum. We are so proud, and I am so proud of the fact that we've been able to invest $6.4 million in the bond community. I am extremely proud, and that was through the CRA, for which the commission also sits and serves. Very proud that we were able to actually give that $1 million to the Orange Avenue Fund. Okay, that's I will finally, I appreciate your vote, Elaine Bryant, for City Commission.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I hit the bell so hard that I knocked it over. Ms. Porter, you're next.
Yes, I'm Jack Porter. I'm running for Tallahassee City Commission. I am running to give the voters a choice on August 18th. I'm running to fight back against special interests, empower our neighbors, and bring the voice of everyday people back to City Hall. Our campaign is truly bringing the people together. My background in community advocacy, urban planning, and public policy is the experience that we need on our city commission to make sure that we're growing responsibly without compromising what we love about our city. I have a master's in urban and regional planning and public policy from FSU. I served for 3 years as a commissioner on the Tallahassee Leon Commission on the status of women and girls. I began my career in the public sector, and that's truly where my heart is. I'm proud to be endorsed by the Leon County Teacher Association, neighborhood leaders in Providence and Frenchtown, as well as former and current city and county commissioners. My greatest qualification, the one I'm most proud of, is the community support we've received. Over 800 contributions. Like I said, this is truly a grassroots, people-powered campaign. As your next city commissioner, I will listen to you and I will fight for you. If you want your voice truly heard at City Hall, I'm asking for your vote on August 18th. Visit jackfortallahassee.com to learn more. Sign up to volunteer and donate. We are only 4 weeks out, and your voice deserves to be heard in City Hall. So vote Jack Porter on August 18th.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, you want to take us out?
Sure. Yeah, all my ideas are backed by countless pieces of evidence and logic. You can check them all out at williammore2020.com. You can also check my ideas out on my Instagram, williammore2020. But yeah, these ideas have worked throughout the entire globe, and I'm just trying to bring them here to Tallahassee so we can revolutionize the city and set a prime example for the state of Florida and the entire nation.
All right. Thank you. And thank you to the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee for their partnership in today's forum. And of course, a big thank you to the candidates for joining us today. Our next forum will be at 1 p.m. Thursday, July 23rd. It will be with the 3 candidates for Tallahassee Commission Seat 2. FYI, you can find a replay of this and all of our interviews on tallahassee.com/elections. And you can look for our special elections section, which will be printed on Sunday, August 2nd. That will be interviews with all the candidates on the issues. Thank you all for watching today and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.